Yeah, thank
Shravya,
you.
welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks a lot.
My first question, Shravya, to you is, you are the first ever student at Indian School of Business in their 19 years long history who is a girl with visual impairment. What has this journey been for you? What do you like most about this journey?
Firstly, thank you for that question, and firstly, thank you so much for having us here. It's a huge honor and privilege to be here. And coming to your question, um, there are a couple of things that I really like about ISB. And if you've specifically spoken about my ISB journey, there are like a couple of things that I'd like to address. First thing is the willingness of the faculty and the staff there to work with me, because what I firmly believe in is organizations either are ready to be very inclusive and to have people with all kinds of different abilities in them, and B, there are organizations that are yet to be ready, but they have the willingness to make themselves very inclusive. So I think ISB stands in that second category, and they have immense willingness to work with me and to make it more inclusive, to make everything more accessible for me. And that's something that really stands out in the institution for me. And second thing is the peer support that I really get. I mean, I have been a person who've been fighting for really basic rights of mine all along. But now in ISB, I don't need to prove a point to anyone. I just, it's wonderful how people are so supportive. They just help me with everything I need. Sometimes my unsaid needs are also addressed. So it's a wonderful place. And yeah, in fact, one of my professors is also here, Professor Bhagwan Chaudhary. Thank you, sir, for being here. And everybody in ISB has been a key member for me being whatever I always attribute my success to everyone who supported me through and through. And definitely ISB is a major part of who I am today.
Thank you, Shravya. Anand, my question to you is, your hearing impairment is not by birth. How did you cope up with this change in life? Your mic is working? Yeah, great.
My hearing loss is, the medical term for it is binaural, acute binaural sensorineural hearing loss. It basically means that I have almost 100 decibels of hearing loss in both the ears. So that means that when somebody speaks to me, for all purposes, I am deaf. And I wasn't born deaf. My family, my parents don't have any problem with their hearing. My siblings have no problem with their hearing. And my entire extended family, there is nobody who is deaf. Now, people ask me how it happened, when it happened. I'm not very aware of that, but most probably it was something to do with side effect of a medication when I was very young. And I had typhoid, malaria, or something like that. Now, coming to this question of how I have coped with my deafness, or whether I have failed or succeeded, now that's a question which is slightly tough to answer. I put it this way. If been employed gainfully and been successful in careers is less strict than I have failed. Because for almost 8 odd years, I am not gainfully employed. I am somebody who freelances, and that's more to do with the fact that people feel that deaf are not capable in a communication role. I don't think it's anything to do with my own capability. It's a question of what the world thinks you're capable or incapable. But then on the other side, if the ability to retain your voice, the ability to have a voice and also have a voice as a poet, and the ability to have live a life which is larger than life, and which is what I try to do when it goes to happening with wildlife, nature, birds, etc. is concerned, then I don't think I have failed yet. I think I am still hanging in there and fighting. So,
Well said. Thanks, Anand. Shravya, people join these fancy MBA colleges for getting a very, very good job at the end of the journey. So what has placement experience been for you? Was it a difficult journey? Was it an easy ride? Did you already get an offer? Did you accept? Can you share with us?
Thank you for that question. I mean, before I talk about placements at ISB, I just need to mention some things about how the world and some organizations generally are, what I've faced earlier. So what typically used to happen up until ISB is that people have some preconceived notions about you. Like Anand just mentioned, right?
Yes.
If you can't do something, it just means that if you have a challenge, they just assume that you just are not capable of doing anything, right? So I have faced that up until ISB, where I always had to prove myself. I always had to reiterate to people that, hey, you know what? Yes, I do have a challenge, but then this is not an impediment to me in any way. But
Wonderful.
thankfully, what happened in ISB and in the entire placement process was I still had to prove myself. But then there weren't quite a lot of employers who, in fact, asked me, oh, you're visually challenged, so I don't know if I can take you in or not in my organization. So that's a shift that I've seen in companies in the last 3-4 years, where they are, if not fully yet ready, they are at least striving to be ready. They have the willingness to make themselves more inclusive. All that they want is someone to, come and guide them and say, hey, you need to do this to be inclusive. And most of it comes from the mindset, actually, more than the infrastructure. Infrastructure definitely plays a role, but mindset plays a bigger role in being organizations inclusive. So in ISB, what happened was, yes, I did get placed. I got placed at Wells Fargo currently, and the best part about companies that interviewed me is that they've been very explicit about saying that we are not hiring you because we need to fill our CSR requirements and we need to have some people who are differently abled. We are taking you because we need your talent, and just the attitude of we need you as much as you need us is an amazing change that I've noticed. And even the school has been very supportive, and they've not once said this is a special student we have. They've always tried to normalize and regularize the process for me, and that's something that even I've very firmly said to everyone, that I wouldn't want a special or a separate process. I would absolutely want a regular and a normal process for everything.
Great, thanks, Shravya. Wonderful. Anand, you have set up the Chitrak Eco Ventures. Yeah, what was your journey with Chitrak? What was the vision behind? Can you share with us? Yes.
I have something like 20 odd years experience. I won't call it experience. I had been getting away into the lap of nature for almost 20 years now. And one thing which has been starkly clearly evident to me from the very beginning is nature doesn't discriminate. So it was at the very basic level, setting up Chitrak was a clarion call from inside to listen to a habitat which was getting destroyed, where wildlife was getting poached, and so on and on. And we were on a very peculiar sense, because I don't own land there. So there were lots of challenges involved, putting together, coming up with a model which works. And so at the vision, and coming to the vision part of it, the other thing I wanted to do was I wanted to show that a deaf entrepreneur can also succeed. And beyond that, I also wanted to be in a position to look at hiring people with disabilities. Because when you look at it from that point of view, like Shravya was saying sometime, like, nobody who is disabled or has a proper impairment is looking for pity. All they're looking for is empathy. And when you look at it from that point of view of empathy, and you know what, people are looking at just a chance to be mainstream, come into the mainstream. And one thing which is better of any mainstream guys, and all of you would be like, you all did a job, don't you? So why should it be that somebody who has impairment or a disability doesn't have that right? So at one level, what we want to do is, at T3, we want to be active in that region in Rajasthan and give the people around, the locals around, for whom it's not too much of a distance, who have disabilities, to join us and work with us. Then again, I'd like to go back to something that Shravya was indicating, and which happens a lot in CSR hiring. It's tokenism. So you hire one person, you want to release a ad and say that we are just to take care of something. At the end of the day, whoever you hire, you give them a token job. Somebody has a physical disability and ask him to staple a bunch of, and so I didn't want to do that. In fact, I would like to show, God willing, that the deaf are more capable than so many others. Because it's just a question of having the ability to listen to other voices and protect them.
Thanks, Anand. Shravya, we talked about this some time back, and I really loved your take on this. So I want to bring this question. Sure. What is the advantage that comes with your disability?
That's a great question. If I say this, I'm sure some of you would want to be this. I have the liberty of saying this because what happens with me is almost an absolute lack of judgments towards people. Because I'm not looking at you, right? So I'm really not bothered about who's wearing what and who's sitting how and who's looking where. And you know, these things sort of are very like, I even when my mom says these things to me, I'm like, I don't know, like I don't care. Like these opinions and these things, the stereotypes that come with certain kind of dressing or certain kind of walking or certain position of sitting, they don't come to me at all. They don't even occur to me, because for me, everyone is the same. For me, the way I remember people or I associate people is by their voices. So one is an absolute lack of judgment, and two is I use some of my other senses way more stronger than anybody else. And that sort of compensates for what I don't have. Like, for example, I use my ears a lot. I use my listening skills a lot. I use my, retention skills, my memory skills a lot. So that kind of makes up for more than what I don't have. And that also makes me lead an absolutely normal life. And when I say normal, normal as per the regular standards, like people ask me, how do you read? How do you write? How do you walk? How do you do this and that? How do you operate your phone? How do you operate your laptop? It's all through listening. There are a lot of softwares that are in existence which help you read the screens, your laptop or phone screens, and then you listen to that, and then you basically interpret what's on the screen, and you either remember it or you do something. So this pretty much makes my life very normal, like I do everything on my own, including like traveling within cities, across cities, and doing all sorts of things that annoy my parents, like buy shop stuff, waste a lot of money, go to work, and just everything.
Wonderful, wonderful. A lot of my friends, I know that they still don't travel alone outside the city or outside the country. So kudos to you. And kudos to your mom. We have Sujata ji here, Shravya's mom. She has been a big source of inspiration for Shravya. Anand, my next question to you is, what do you think is the advantage with your disability? Same question that I asked Shravya. Or if you do not want to answer this question, my next question, alternate question to you is, what has been your biggest challenges, some big challenges with your disability? Whichever question you want. I'm giving you both questions.
My answer would be a bit considerate because deafness did not happen to me overnight. And I am somebody who has been
Anand,
losing
do
my
you want to
hearing a
use
bit by
this
bit,
mic?
by bit, by bit.
Do you want to use this mic? Sure. I
Okay.
think. Yeah. You can use this mic, please.
Problem will be this. Can you guys hear me? So my answer to this question would be a bit considered because deafness did not happen to me overnight. I am somebody who has been losing my hearing a bit by bit by bit. So at one level, my biggest challenge is I don't know where I belong. I don't know whether I belong in the hearing world or I belong in the deaf world. As Shravya indicated some time back, everybody tries to live a normal life. And if you look at the deaf community, they live a very normal life in their own way. They have their own culture, they have their own communities, and they absolutely have no self-pity or anything for themselves. But my problem at one level has been losing friends over a period of time and losing, seeing that credit cards, money is important in life, and whatever we have in the bank becomes a piece of plastic which is useless. And whatever you say, however cute you are about the thing, deafness is a problem you live with. Like you guys, when we have something called a bad hair day, okay? So you try to comb in a different way, or you go and visit a stylist and it goes away. But a bad ear there doesn't go away. So whatever you do about it, whatever you tell yourself at the end of the evening, at the end of the day, you will stay as you were. Now, coming to what's good about my disability or how my disability has made me a better person. I'd like to think that disability has taught me grace. It has taught me that everybody in this world has problems. It has taught me that nobody is living, so to say, a normal or happy life. I think all of us have problems and all of us need to be helped to. All of us need to be talked to. All of us want to live fulfilled lives. So to that level, I think I am more sensitive to what people have and they don't have. I am a bit more kinder than probably I would have been otherwise. And like I have said before also, I have used this opportunity of not fitting into the hearing world to go into the world of nature. And that has been a journey for which I am eminently full of gratitude.
Thank you, Anand. Thank you. Wonderful answer. Shravya, so you do not use stick. And that's a choice your mother made for you when you were very young.
Yeah, sure.
If given the choice today, how do you see yourself? Do you want to use stick, or do you think there's something else for persons with visual impairment should be happening in the country?
So, so my parents did not want me to use a stick because back then there was a stigma attached with it, and initially, like any other parent, for my parents also to accept that, oh, we have a visually challenged child, and just the confusion of, okay, what do we do with her now? There was a lot of that in my formative years, and then also there was this inhibition of, oh, if she uses a stick, then like people are going to perceive my child in a certain way. So those kind of apprehensions didn't let me use a stick. But now what I see is the emergence of a lot of technology, you know. In fact, I do know of companies that are currently working on technologies or apps that can make visually challenged people move from point A to point B without dependence on anybody else. But the challenge here is, do they suit the Indian roads currently? Not at all. Um, are they are they are they affordable enough for anyone to buy? Again, not at all. So those are the two challenges, but I can definitely foresee a lot of technology coming in to sort of cater to our needs, very specific to India. And in fact, I am in talks, or I'm at least trying to put something like that in place, working with some people, um, which is not completely in shape now, so I'm not like disclosing things fully.
Sure.
But yeah, I can see a lot of that coming. Uh, Maybe in this lifetime of mine, if that happens, I'll be very happy.
Great. Wonderful answer. Anand, my question to you. You have close to 2 decades of experience. Sure. Sure. You have close to 2 decades. No, let's use live transcribe, please. You have close to 2 decades of corporate experience in advertising and corporate communication. What has been your experience with? Do you have any messages for those industries? Please use.
I heard, when I look back at these 2 decades I have spent in communications role, I have some happy anecdotes to recite, and I also have a lot of very bad memories. So I'd like to start with what was happy. One thing that has happened is I have not faced any sort of discrimination from the people I have worked with, as in my fellow employees, my colleagues, my teammates. In fact, it's very fast for people to figure out with working with me that I'm good at what I do, as a boss, as a colleague, as a superior, whatever it is. And I just need a cue from the viewpoint of somebody who has to take a note for me in a meeting, write it down for me and pass it to me, or somebody who has to take phone when somebody calls me on the phone, I can pass it on to the tips or something like that. But at another level, the moment it would happen to anybody who works in a job and you want growth, career growth, and to come to a particular level and to start expecting a growth, you bosses seem to feel that, hey, this guy is getting too big for his shoes. Hey, this guy is under the deaf guy, isko suna nahi deta, ki itna baat kar raha hai. And that had always led to me not knowing what to do about it, because discrimination is a word nobody wants to use in the corporate world. And all I could do then was get out of it, because there is no legal redress to discrimination in India. What can you do if somebody says he's not capable? You won't say capable, he says he doesn't work. So I think my way of looking at the whole thing is other way. If you do a Google search and find out the number of people in India who are deaf, and you realize that most of them are living in a marginal close spaces because nobody had invested time and effort in mainstreaming them. So why don't corporates look at them as a massive untapped pool of talent? Why don't corporates realize the fact that there are some people who are bursting with the need to belong somewhere, work somewhere, in an era when everybody is, bothered about people living. So it's just a question of finding people, empowering them a bit with technology, giving them such an element of skills, figuring out what they're good at. They could be good at layout artists, they could be good at photographers, they could be good in so many different roles, which doesn't really require hearing. So why don't companies invest in them, bring them in, and give them a space to grow, as they would to their other employees? But I don't see that happening. What I have seen mostly is that we seem to be dealing in tokenism when it comes to the deaf. We use words like Divyang. The word goes Viklang, rather than this government elevated to Divyang. So you just call somebody Divyang and leave him with no funds, with no real support mechanisms in place, with no understanding of what somebody goes to. So I think it's time corporate India did some soul searching. It's time corporate India got through all that systems which are not working and reach directly to the deaf communities and figure out how capable they are on their own. They would probably come across a gold mine.
Thank you for sharing that perspective, Anand. Shravya, given your experience with ISB's placements or working in the corporate, what is your message to people and organizations that are looking to become inclusive?
Inclusion doesn't come in a day, and there is no formula to become inclusive. Like, you can't say you do A, B, C and you become inclusive. It unfortunately doesn't work that way.
What do you suggest?
So firstly, I'd make a rather very bold statement, which I don't know if it goes really well, but if you think your organizations are not ready for a differently abled person, then please do not hire them. Because what you're doing is, it's a wasted resource for you and wasted time and opportunity for the person who's getting hired. Instead, what you can do is, and it has to be extremely customized as well. Like, for example, if I get into an organization, there are certain things that I might need. Like, I will need braille stickers on all the rooms, right? I will need computers that have softwares installed in them so that I work like anybody else.
Yes.
More than anything, I will need a sensitized employee pool. And sensitization, or rather lack of sensitization, doesn't always come from ignorance, but it comes from lack of awareness. So then how do you fix awareness? It is by first beginning to interact with differently abled people in any capacity. Not just as an employee or employer, in any capacity, the interaction has to begin. And most importantly, this is my message to the differently able people itself, that as much as we want inclusion, it doesn't come to us in a plate. You can't get it served in a plate.
Yes.
You have to put in some efforts to be inclusive, which means you have to help yourself, or people around you have to get you oriented with the society outside. Which is when society will know that, oh, people like these exist and this is how they live, this is how you're supposed to speak with them, this is how you're not supposed to speak. These terms are okay, these terms are not. How will they understand if you don't make an effort to go and, acquaint yourselves with them, right?
Yeah.
And this interaction has to be two ways. It has to come from the organizations and the society at large. It also has to come from differently able people and their support system as well. So if we can increase these interactions, then we are going to, I think, have a lot more of Shravyas and lot more of Anands, and Shravya and Anand will no longer be special then. Because
Very,
everything
very well
becomes
said.
normal.
Thank you, Shravya. So I'm going to open this for our audience to ask any questions. We will have about 5 to 10 minutes.
Hi, both of you. I'm really inspired by what you've spoken about and everything that you've said during this session. My question is to the both of you. Have you been at a place where, okay, sorry, all right, I'll keep it short as well then. Has the question of it being applicable to a larger society, or the question of scalability come up when you approach someone for help? Like you've said softwares, you've said companies that want to help you. Have people been like, is this really scalable? Can we actually bring it out to the masses? Has that question come up?
Yeah, definitely. Because, in fact, actually, this reminds me of a conversation that I had with my bosses. And when I said, look, we need to make our tools more compatible to what I can use. And unless that happens, it's not going anywhere, and we are not actually changing as an organization. And she actually, I remember her saying, Shravya, you know what? You, if we have to do it, we'll have to do it only for you. And there are not a lot of people like you who will come out and work, and it's a lot of effort that we need to put in just for one person. Right? So those kinds of issues definitely do come up. But then my argument then was, if you're not going to do it for one person, then how will you even scale it up? How will you tell people that we are making efforts to make our organizations more inclusive, we're changing our softwares and tools so that anybody can come and work here? If you're not going to put yourself out there and say it, and if you're not able to do it, then you're not going to get that scale as well. It's a catch-22 situation where one thing, if you have one, you have the other, but the other has to be there. So it is kind of tricky.
You ask a very pertinent question. Thank you for asking this. My problem has been this from much before. Hearing aids, and sometimes like Shravya was talking about the stigma that is attached to taking a stick. You have a much more stigma when it comes to hearing aids which are visible over the ear. Because the moment somebody says that, he feels you are less capable than you are. He or she will feel that you can't hear. Probably they think the hearing is far less than what it is. The bigger the hearing aid, the more they think you're deaf. Now the point is, hearing loss in India is still considered an orphan disease. The key word is orphan. Medical companies don't invest money into making such of them. And there is no insurance. Nobody will give you insurance to buy the medical insurance to buy that. And I am also talking to people now. People have approached me to help them with making apps for the disabled. Now that question may again come up there about scalability thing. But then you have to look at it from the viewpoint Shravya answered. Something like that. You need to have a product which is good enough. If the product is good enough and the product is affordable enough, now you have the number of deaf, the number of disabled, you can do a Google search and find for yourself the amount of people there are. So I think the challenge more is about mentoring them and bringing them to a level when they start looking for a solution themselves. But when you're lost in the herd, and you feel you don't belong, when you feel there is no hope, then you won't do that. So I think scalability shouldn't be an issue. I'm sure there would be funds, I'm sure there would be people who would be willing to help. What matters is your solution should be good enough, it should be able to work.
It's wonderful to see both of you. But one question I wanted to ask is that what is it that the parents should do at home to actually bring people with these challenges out? Because it's very natural for people to feel depressed and then go into a kind of a low kind of a mental situation. So what do you think, having gone through this, what do you advise to the parents?
Firstly, of course, I understand that it's very difficult. I've seen my parents go through it. But what I would advise parents is, first, don't tell your kids that they are special or they're different, and just don't tell them that they're different. Just tell them that they're normal, tell them that they're entitled to everything that any other person is, and most importantly, tell them that they're capable enough of doing it. And making them capable literally needs the effort of like moving mountains, because you need to get a lot of things right to make them feel confident. And it's not an easy journey, but initially it begins with a mindset change where you first tell yourself that my child is absolutely normal, and you also bring that child up like that, just telling them that, like, just don't let anyone treat your kids very differently or very specially, or don't let anyone have a sympathetic gauge towards your kids. That mindset departure then enables a lot of things, and then, you know, the needle gets pushed forward.
Anand, do you want to answer this question? Sure.
I'm not sure whether I can add anything else to what Shravya has said. At one level, I think, but from my own experience, I feel that what the support you have at home from parents, and I am very, very, very lucky there. And how well you are taught, how your teachers teach you, these are the two things which shape you. And there again, I am very lucky. So I think it's important to tell every child that he is special, not because of some disability, but because of the talent he or she possesses. And it's important to tell every child that it's, even in a mass of humanity, you are unique, you are different. And so go ahead, the world is yours, the world is a stage for yourself, and go and find a way to self-express. The point, probably at one level, to a more practical way of what you can do on a daily basis is, I believe there are lots of peer groups. For every disability, there is a peer group. I think it's important for parents to join these peer groups and, first of all, have an idea of what they should expect from a child with disabilities. Because sometimes expectations are higher than what the child is capable of dealing with, then it leads to a lot of stress. And that's something that has happened to me a lot of times at home as well as at work. Whenever I put in a new hearing aid, they expect the hearing aid to do miracles. But it doesn't, because the hearing aid is just a substitute for a ear. It's never as good as ear. So I think it's very, very important to know what to expect, and it's important to learn how to inspire somebody with a problem to the next level.
Thank you, Anand. We'll just end this session by requesting Shravya to sing her two favorite lines from any song that she wants us to hear. Thank you, Shravya. Please do.
मेरे ढोल ना सुन, मेरे प्यार की धुन, मेरे ढोल ना सुन, मेरे चाहते फिजा में बहेंगे, जिंदा रहेंगे होके फना। तननन तुम, तननन तुम, तननन तुम, तननन तुम, तानधीर तानधीर धीर ना, मेरे ढोल ना सुन, मेरे प्यार की धुन, मेरे ढोल ना